All right, so we're back and ready for another deep dive. And this time, we're heading over to Israel to explore how their education system is tackling this whole AI thing,
Yeah.
especially this new generative AI everybody's talking about. And it seems like it's everywhere these days.
Yeah, it really is. And it's fascinating to see how Israel's approaching it. Their Ministry of Education, they released some pretty detailed guidelines, actually, just this past January. And they're not just looking at AI as like, a fancy new gadget. They're really treating it as a whole new subject area, something students need to really understand inside and out.
Wow, so almost like AI is becoming a core subject, like math or history. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, right?
It is, it is. And it makes sense when you think about how AI is already all around us.
Yeah.
But this generative AI stuff, this is kind of a whole other ball game.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. So can we maybe break that down a bit? What exactly is generative AI, and how is it different from the AI we're already using?
Sure. So think about how we use AI now.
Hmm.
Things like navigation apps or facial recognition. Those are based on what we call predictive AI, using data to make predictions. But generative AI, it actually creates brand new content.
So instead of just analyzing what's already there, it's making new stuff, like from scratch.
Yeah, pretty much. We're talking text, images, videos, even code. It's wild.
Whoa, okay, so like having a robot Shakespeare or a digital Picasso running around, I can see why this is such a big deal for education.
Right. And we're already seeing some pretty cool applications popping up in schools.
Like what, give us some examples. What kind of things are they doing with this generative AI in the classroom?
Well, we're seeing things like conversational AI tutors. These AI tutors that can give personalized feedback and guidance to students. We're also seeing AI-powered tools that can help teachers design entire lesson plans from scratch or generate visual content for lessons.
Wow, so it's not just about making things look flashy, it's actually about helping teachers teach better and students learn more effectively.
Exactly, exactly. And the potential benefits are huge, especially when it comes to personalized learning. Imagine a student who's struggling with algebra. An AI tutor could analyze their learning patterns and then create a custom learning path just for them with targeted exercises, explanations, even motivational prompts.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it could be incredibly helpful for students who might need extra support or who learn at a different pace than the rest of the class. It's almost like having a personal tutor available 24/7, right?
Right. And think about how much time teachers could save with AI assistance. Instead of spending hours grading papers or creating lesson plans, they could focus on, developing innovative teaching methods, providing individualized feedback, building deeper connections with their students, things that really make a difference.
Yeah, wow. This is starting to sound pretty amazing. But I mean, I have to ask, what about the downsides? The guidelines also talk about risks, right?
Oh, for sure. It's not all sunshine and roses. The document is very clear about the need for a cautious and balanced approach. One of the biggest concerns is the potential for AI to kind of make existing inequalities even worse.
Oh, okay. Can you give me an example of what that might look like? In a school setting, I mean.
Yeah, so imagine an AI system that's used for student placement in high school. If this system is trained on data that reflects historical biases, let's say assumptions about certain groups performing better in certain subjects, it could end up recommending students into paths that limit their future opportunities.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So it's really important to make sure that the data used to train these AI systems is diverse and representative, so we don't end up perpetuating harmful stereotypes.
Exactly. And that's just one example. There are a lot of potential pitfalls we need to be aware of.
Okay, so potential bias is one big concern. What else are they worried about?
Well, there's also the black box problem, which basically means that it's hard to understand how these complex AI systems make decisions.
Oh, that's a little unsettling, isn't it? It's like trusting a magic 8 ball to make important decisions about a student's education without really understanding the logic behind it.
Right. And this lack of transparency can be especially tricky when you're dealing with things like student evaluation or personalized learning paths. We need to be able to understand and scrutinize how these AI systems are making choices to make sure they're being fair and accurate.
Okay, so we've got potential bias and lack of transparency as two big concerns. Anything else?
Yeah, there's also the issue of hallucinations, which basically means that an AI can generate outputs that sound totally plausible, but are actually completely made up or inaccurate.
Wait, so the AI is like making stuff up?
Yeah, essentially, imagine a history student using an AI tool to research a specific event, but the AI generates false information. It could lead to, a totally distorted understanding of history and compromise the whole learning process.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. It seems like we really need to tread carefully with this technology.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's exactly what the Israeli Ministry of Education is trying to do with these guidelines. They recognize the incredible potential of generative AI, but they also understand the need to proceed with caution, you know, and put the well-being of their students first.
Well, I'm definitely interested to hear more about those guidelines. It sounds like they're taking a very thoughtful and nuanced approach.
They are, and what's particularly interesting is that they've developed an age-appropriate framework for implementing AI in the classroom. They recognize that, students at different ages will have different needs and levels of understanding when it comes to AI.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's dive into those guidelines.
So they've actually kind of broken it down by grade level, starting with the youngest learners.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, younger kids probably aren't quite ready to be using these tools on their own, right?
Exactly. For grades 1 through 3, they've actually completely banned the use of generative AI in the classroom. The focus there is really on, like, foundational learning,
Mm.
developing critical thinking skills, fostering those important social and emotional connections.
Okay, so back to basics for the little ones. No robot teachers taking over just yet. But what happens when they get a bit older, like in middle school?
Well, things start to shift a bit in grade 4. That's when they introduced this special educational AI bot that the ministry developed.
An AI bot just for kids? That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's designed with all these strict safety and privacy controls. So it's kind of like a very controlled environment where students can start interacting with AI in a safe and educational way.
I like that approach, sort of like dipping their toes in the AI pool with a lifeguard on duty. Okay, so what about as they get even older, middle school, high school? Do they get to use the more advanced tools then?
Yeah, so in grades 5 through 7, teachers can start incorporating uh, approved generative AI tools into specific lessons, but it's still very much under the teacher's supervision. Students don't have independent access at this stage.
Okay, so it's like a gradual rollout, right? Slowly introducing more complex AI tools as students mature and develop their digital literacy skills. Makes sense. So what about high school? Full access at that point.
Well, in grade 8 and up, students can start using approved generative AI tools independently. But there's a catch. They have to go through mandatory ethics training first.
Ethics training, huh? I like that. It seems like there's a real emphasis on responsible use throughout these guidelines.
Absolutely. And to kind of reinforce that, they also require parental consent at every stage of AI implementation. So parents are kept informed and have a say in how their kids are interacting with this tech, which is important.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like they're really trying to cover all their bases. Addressing potential risks while also embracing the potential benefits of AI. It's a tough balance to strike, for sure.
It is. And it's not just about the technical stuff. The guidelines also talk a lot about the importance of developing ethical frameworks for AI use in education.
Oh, interesting. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure, they talk about things like transparency, accountability, fairness, making sure that AI tools are being used in a way that benefits all students
Hmm.
and doesn't create or exacerbate existing inequalities, which is a big concern.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like they're building a set of ethical guardrails around this technology,
Yeah.
making sure it's used responsibly and doesn't run off the tracks.
Exactly. And one of the key things that they emphasize is the importance of human oversight. Like, the guidelines are very clear that AI should be used to enhance and support human educators, not to replace them.
Okay, so it's not about robots taking over the classroom. It's about finding ways for AI to empower teachers and help them do their jobs even better. I think that'll be a relief to a lot of teachers out there.
I think so too. Ultimately, it's all about putting the needs of the students first. Using AI to create more personalized, engaging, and effective learning experiences that really cater to the individual needs of each student, which is a really exciting idea.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think about how AI could help us unlock the learning potential of every student, regardless of their background or learning style. But it's clear that this is a journey, right? Not a destination.
Yeah, definitely. The guidelines acknowledge that this is an evolving landscape and that things will need to be adapted as the technology advances and we get a better understanding of its impact on education.
Yeah, that's reassuring. It sounds like they're not just setting these hard and fast rules, but
Yeah.
creating a flexible framework that can evolve as needed.
Right, exactly. And they're encouraging ongoing dialogue and collaboration between, educators, policymakers, and tech developers to make sure that AI is integrated into education in a thoughtful, responsible, and ultimately beneficial way.
It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it,
Right.
right? And the values we embed in it.
Yeah, totally. And that brings us to another really important point that the guidelines highlight: the need for really solid professional development for teachers.
Oh, that's huge, right? I mean, teachers need to be equipped to navigate this new landscape and make informed decisions about how to use AI in their classrooms.
Exactly. They need training not only on the technical aspects of using the tools,
Mm.
but also on, the ethical considerations, the potential biases, the ways in which AI can both enhance and challenge, traditional teaching methods.
It's like giving teachers a whole new toolkit, right? Not just the tools themselves, but the knowledge and skills to use them wisely.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this investment in professional development is going to be absolutely essential for ensuring that, that AI integration is successful and benefits both teachers and students.
I think that's a great place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this section, from specific examples of how AI is being used in Israeli schools to the really comprehensive guidelines they've developed.
It's really impressive, the level of thought and care that's gone into this. It's clear that they're taking this very seriously.
They are, and it's exciting to see how they're trying to harness the power of AI while also being mindful of the potential risks.
Exactly. It's a balancing act for sure, but it's a balance we need to find if we want to create a future where AI truly benefits education.
Yeah, it does feel like we're at this really pivotal moment, like we're kind of holding our breath, waiting to see where all this leads.
It's true.
Hmm.
And the decisions we make now, they're really going to have a ripple effect,
Uh,
for generations to come. What's happening in Israel, it's like a glimpse into one possible future for education,
yeah.
but it's definitely not the only path.
It's a good reminder that technology, at the end of the day, it's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for not so good. It all comes down to the humans who are using it, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really crucial point. We tend to get caught up in the hype around new technologies, but we have to remember that technology itself isn't inherently good or bad. It's the human choices, the values that we bake into it, that really shape its impact.
So it's not like we're just passive bystanders in this whole technological revolution. We're active participants, right? We're the ones shaping the future.
Exactly. And that's why these conversations, like the one we're having right now, are so important. We need to be thinking critically about the implications of AI, not just in education, but in all areas of our lives.
It's not about being afraid of the future, right? Or trying to stop progress. It's about steering it in a direction that benefits humanity.
100%.
Yeah.
And that takes open dialogue, collaboration, a willingness to learn and adapt as we go.
This deep dive has given me a lot to think about. It's been really eye-opening to see how Israel is approaching AI in education. What are some of the key takeaways for you? What do you hope our listeners will walk away with after hearing this conversation?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is the importance of approaching AI with this sense of informed optimism.
Yeah.
We should be excited about the potential, for sure, the potential for AI to personalize education, to empower both teachers and students. But we also can't shy away from the potential risks,
Right.
right? We have to be proactive in addressing those.
It's like walking a tightrope, right? Trying to balance the potential benefits with the potential risks.
Yeah, exactly. And to maintain that balance, we have to be willing to constantly ask questions, challenge assumptions, and engage in these kinds of thoughtful discussions.
So it's not just about finding the right answers, it's about asking the right questions.
Exactly. And I think the most important question of all is, what kind of future do we want to create with this technology?
That's a really powerful question and a great one to leave our listeners with. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'd encourage everyone listening to really sit with that question. What kind of future do you want to see for education in this age of AI? What role do you want to play in shaping that future?
Yeah, these aren't easy questions, but they're definitely worth wrestling with.
They are. And it's a conversation we need to be having as a society if we want to make sure that AI is a force for good in the world, especially when it comes to something as important as education.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for having me on for this deep dive. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
It has. Thanks for joining me. And to everyone listening, thanks for coming along on this journey with us. We hope you found it informative, maybe even a little bit inspiring.
And we hope it sparks more conversations, more questions, more exploration. The future of education, it's really in our hands.
That's right, it is. So let's make it a future we can all be proud of. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those tough questions.